The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 4, Language. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to identify and explain the meanings of words and then use them correctly in a range of texts. Learners should be able to use dictionaries and thesaurus for different purposes such as researching meanings and pronunciation.
Hi, I'm Megan. In the first part of today's lesson, we looked at some pairs of words that are often confused. Some of the pairs that we looked at were homophones. In today's lesson, we're going to be learning more about homophones and some other tricky pairs of words that you should look out for. Let's begin by defining homophone. Homophones are words that sound the same but are spelt differently and have different meanings. Here are a few examples of homophones. I'm sure you can think of many more. Tale, as in a story, and tail, like an animal's tail. Flour, like what you bake with, and flower, as in what grows in your garden. Which, as in the question, and which, as in a woman who rides on a broom. It's a good idea to be aware of homophones so that you make the correct choice in your writing. Also, be aware that computer spell check functions might not pick up if you've used the wrong choice of homophones. This is because the word would still be spelled correctly even if it has been used incorrectly. Now it's time for a quick task to see if you can make the correct choice between pairs of homophones. I eat cereal or cereal for breakfast. When can we meet or meet? There are too many people here. Can you work out which homophone should be used? Here are the correct answers: cereal, meet, and too. If you didn't get these right, look up both words in a dictionary to work out the difference. You might get an activity like the one we've just done in an English test or exam, or your teacher might give you a sentence with a pair of homophones from which to choose. Another thing that you might get tested on is homonyms, so let's define this term. Homonyms are words that are spelt and pronounced in the same way but have different meanings. Sometimes people muddle up the terms homonym and homophone. Here's a way to remember the difference. Homophones sound the same on the phone but are spelt differently. Homonyms have the same name. That is, they are spelt the same but have different meanings. Here are some examples of homonyms. Can you think of others? Bear means to carry, and bear can also mean the animal. Note that they are spelt the same. Here's another one. Cricket is a game, and you also get a cricket, which is an insect. Thus, the spelling is the same, but the meaning is different. Now, to work out the function of a word in a sentence, you will have to consider that word in the context of the sentence. Or, if you still need help, consult a dictionary. In a dictionary, the words will be listed like this. Fair, meaning just or equitable, or fair, meaning periodical gathering for sale of goods. In this example, the word fair has two definitions. Either it means that something can be described as fair or just, or it can refer to a fun fair or fete. In this case, you can see that it has more than one meaning by looking at the little numbers. Also, when used in different ways, this word can either be an adjective or a noun, as shown by the abbreviations A and N. Now, what does this mean for you? If you look up a word in a dictionary and the definition given is not what you were expecting, keep reading. The definition you require may be further on in the entry. Also, in English tests or exams, you may be given a word and then you will be asked to use it in different ways depending on the different parts of speech. Here's an example of this using the word eats. He eats his supper at 6 o'clock. Please bring a plate of eats to the meeting. In this example, the homonym is the word eats. It is spelt the same and pronounced the same, but the meanings and parts of speech that have been used differ. What part of speech has been used in each case? Well, in the first sentence, eats is a verb. Here, eats is something he does. In the second sentence, eats is a noun. A thing is being referred to. Remember, to work out what part of speech the word is, you will have to consider the word in context. Because so many words fulfill the function of more than one part of speech, your vocabulary is probably even bigger than what you think. So far, we've looked at homonyms and homophones, but what about words that are spelt the same but pronounced differently? These are known as homographs. Homographs are words that are spelt the same but are pronounced differently. Have a look at the example of a homograph on the screen. How do you pronounce this word? Some of you might have said wind and others might have said wind. Both would be correct if the word was used correctly for the context, as in these sentences. The first sentence says, "The clothes are blowing in the wind," and the second sentence says, "I must wind my watch." Note that in both cases, the word is spelt the same, yet it is pronounced differently. Have a look at this next homograph. How do you pronounce this word? Once again, it depends on the context. Look at these sentences. Before I read them, see if you can work out how this word, T-E-A-R, should be pronounced in each case. In the first sentence, what would you pronounce it as? The correct pronunciation is try not to tear the paper. In the second sentence, the correct pronunciation is wipe the tear from your eye. Here's our third example of a homograph. How is this word pronounced? Again, it depends on the context. In the first sentence, you'd say, "Come here this minute," but the second sentence reads, "New cell phones are minute." So far in this series of lessons on vocabulary, we've learned that being able to spell words is half the battle won, but you also need to be able to choose the correct word to use in context. So how can you learn the pronunciations of new English words? You can improve your pronunciation by listening to people speak. Pay attention to how words are pronounced, especially in situations where they should be pronounced correctly. For example, newsreaders generally use the correct pronunciations. Another way of improving your pronunciation is to become aware of common mistakes. In South Africa, the word create is often mispronounced as create, and the word 70 is often mispronounced as 70. Becoming aware of these mispronunciations will help stop you from mispronouncing these words yourself. And finally, pronunciation is improved by consulting a dictionary. Different dictionaries have different methods of indicating pronunciation. Some dictionaries spell the word as it should be pronounced, and other dictionaries use phonetic symbols. A key to these symbols is in the front or back of most dictionaries, and these symbols are well worth learning. Why is it important to learn correct pronunciation? Most people watching this program are South African, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with sounding like you come from South Africa. But speaking with a South African accent and mispronouncing words are two completely different things. As you aim to improve your vocabulary, be sure to learn the correct pronunciations of words. This will help you to speak clearly and read aloud with confidence. Let's recap what we've learnt in today's lesson. Be on the lookout for homographs, words that have more than one pronunciation. These are the words that are often mispronounced. When you are writing or typing something, pay attention to homophones. These words may sound the same, but they are spelt differently. Make sure that you use the word that has the meaning you want. Finally, be aware of homonyms, words that have the same spelling but different meanings. You can often work out which meaning of the word is intended from the context. But these three terms, homonyms, homographs, and homophones, aren't just serious vocab issues. They often form the basis of jokes. Have a look at this. The sharpener said to the pencil, "Lead on." What is the underlined word an example of? Well, the word lead is a homograph because it could be pronounced lead or lead. In this case, the joke is a pun because pencils have lead in them. So learn these terms, homonym, homograph, and homophone, because they come up in exams. Also, make sure you know the difference between them so that you can use the correct word in your writing. Also practice your pronunciation. It's worth getting pronunciation right. Please join me in the next lesson. Goodbye.